Hello everyone, William here from 222 Productions, and before we get started with anything, I have a very important question to ask all of you. Since this was episode 12, and next week is the beginning of the end, this week's comic question, very simple, very straightforward. Who do you think is going to win? Now, I don't know if someone's going to win because I've been avoiding all types of advertising and possible spoilers, but let's assume that there's going to be a winner. And here's the thing, if you know that they were advertising that there is going to be a winner, or if you know there's going to be a winner, I ask that you don't mention that in the comments. And also, if you already know who's going to win because you were there or someone told you, I ask that you don't mention it in the comments either. So, for the people who are not in the know, who do you think is going to win? That's what I want to know. With that said, I am here to talk to you about the American Ninja Warrior Season 11 Cincinnati City Finals in approximately 20 minutes or less, starting right now. Oh man, finally, after 2 weeks of just bad episodes, we finally get back to watching something that's good. The Cincinnati Finals were great for me for multiple reasons. It was a good course. It was had some exciting moments, some exciting runs, some exciting stories, a few issues here and there, but overall, really happy with what I saw in this episode, and really makes me look forward to finally getting to see the Vegas episode starting next week. But let's go through our course right here. So, like always, we start with the shrinking steps, and we then go to the ring swing, which apparently, I was told, was made a little bit easier. Just getting the ring off the hook was made a little bit easier, followed by the spinning bridge, the wing nuts, the slingshot, the warped wall, and the salmon ladder. And then our new obstacles is the slam dunk, which is so you're holding both sides of a medicine ball with handles. It's standing, it's perched in a hoop. You're doing this. You got to swing, and with the ball, you got to put it into the next hoop cradle, and then you got to jump to the next ball, and then you got to jump the hoop, and then jump to another ball, and then dismount. I'm kind of curious which one is the easier of the two. And what's interesting is that if you only grab one side, you will fall because the ball will fall out of the cradle. I was told that the crew sometimes had a little difficulty resetting because they're freestanding. It's a freestanding handheld, and like you got to make sure it's turned the correct way, and you can't really put a string on it or anything like that. I guess maybe you could have, but either way, it would fall if you only hold on to one side. I was told that they felt kind of heavy, so that was interesting. I liked it. I was actually concerned at first, because when I first heard about the obstacle, I didn't know any spoilers, but I just heard about the obstacle. I was originally like, I wasn't sure because I didn't get to see it. I only had it described to me a little bit. But now that I saw it, I like it. Then was the return of the Spinball Wizard, which I'm always a fan of. I like the Spinball Wizard. There's always a twist with that obstacle, and you have to have real supple wrists in order to get through. And then, of course, we ended off with the Spider Trap. So one of the things that they mentioned was that Zuri Hall is from Ohio, so this was a big night for her. So let's get on through this episode now with the recap. We start off with my man, Philip Scott. For those of you who don't remember, Philip Scott is a friend of mine. And in the taping, he actually was the first person to run in the episode. And he killed it. He absolutely killed it. He was great. He made it all the way to the Spinball Wizard before losing his grip and seemingly getting tired and wiping out into the water. But it was a great run to watch. I didn't take any notes about any of his run. Other than that, during the qualifiers, he had a really big save on the spinning bridge because they recapped that. But he and his family were so happy. I was so happy for him. They actually they got Zuri to cry, showing human emotion, which is something that I'm pretty sure the last two interviewers on A&W lacked, Jen Brown and Christine Leahy. But yeah, I'm really proud of you, Philip. You were great, and he is moving on to Vegas, so I am super happy to see that. That made my day to see that. And Zuri's doing a good job too as an interviewer. Then they showed Jerry D'Aurelio, I should say. They mentioned that she was in Baghdad, and so training and all that jazz. She finally got past the fifth obstacle for the first time. Almost went out on the warped wall because it took her 3 tries to get up top, meaning that she was pretty slow getting to the slam dunk, which is where she eventually went out at the very end of the obstacle. She missed the final catch in the fifth cradle. And then some fast forwards. Cameron Nave failed the wingnuts. Philip Huckey failed the slingshot, and Christopher Gabion failed the slingshot. We actually had not a lot of people make it to the back half of this course. Just, I guess, it's not like the first half is difficult, but it's just stuff that isn't like a given. You know what I mean? If this was the normal rules, I believe, let me see here, 14, okay, not quite, but would have been interesting to see. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Brandon Mears was the next one that they showed. This was interesting. So they mentioned, they basically talk about how he has, what? Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry. Sometimes I can't read my own notes correctly. Basically mentioned he has a second child, and like it's been 4 years since he's gone to Vegas. Of the 2 power towers, he has a tendency to make it to Vegas less times than Dan. But Brandon, after a very close save on Spinball Wizard, managed to clear the spider trap. And it was very exciting to see him complete the course. He is a big man. He has to carry a lot of weight when he does this stuff. And to see the happiness when he cleared the regional finals course for the first time. And he is going to Vegas for the first time in 4 years. I'm so happy to see that. In more fast forwards, Amanda Odell, sorry. My notes are sloppy. Apologies. Amanda Odell unfortunately went out on the ring swing, and Eddie Russell went out on the wingnuts, and Mike Wright went out on the slingshot. And then they showed Semsei, aka Sem Gare, who was a professional wrestler. I was kind of questioning the whole showboating thing that he was doing. That was kind of annoying me because like. Just kind of what we've seen in the past, there seems to be a lot of like cutoff. We've seen people go out because they were too slow to move on and stuff like that. And we saw actually he did move on, but he was towards the bottom of that list. It could have gone against him if he wasn't careful. But he ended up making it to the slam dunk where he eventually went out. One thing I will mention is that they felt the need to put a Casey referencing the fact that she now works for WWE. We'll get back to talking about Casey in a little bit. In fact, we're going to talk about Casey right now, because up next was Michelle Warnky. Now, this is one of the editing. I'm just going to say the editing was a bit weird in this episode. There was some good stuff, but the pacing was a little off at times. So I was feeling good about this episode so far, up into Michelle's run, and then they played her promo package, and it's like basically they talked about how they I'm sorry. About how she has like this gene that makes her a bigger high risk for cancer and all that. And I'm just watching this package and I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is just A&W back on their bullshit again, aren't they? And I'm sorry for the language, but it really is how I feel. Like, this is Michelle Warnky. She's one of the most well-known competitors on your show. We don't need to hear this personal stuff about her. We don't need to hear that she's at a higher risk for cancer. That's no benefit to us, and it's no benefit to her to tell us. It's not going to make us, I don't know, at least for me, like, I really like Michelle. She's a great person. We have a friendly rapport, but, like, it's not going to make me cheer for her more. It's just going to make me feel sad. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but, like, I don't think we needed to hear that, throwing that in front of America and all that. I don't think that was necessary. It felt like they needed a story for the sake of a story, and I don't like it. They could have just gone with the whole, like, recapping the fact that she got busted open in the qualifiers, which, by the way, A&W, again, on their bullshit, they said, oh, she still has a bruise from getting cut. No, guys, she still has a cut from getting cut, because she has stitches because it was the day before. A&W has this weird obsession with making the show appear that the episodes were filmed in the order that they were aired, and each episode is exactly a week apart, which makes no sense, because the previews shows footage from next week's episode whenever you watch, and it's so dumb. It is so beyond dumb that they continue to do this, and I will continue to make fun of them for that later on in this episode. And my God, the Casey references, they kept mentioning that woman. Because Casey was the only woman to clear the regional finals, and I didn't know. Apparently they spoiled this run ahead of time, which I think is just so dumb that they did that. Really spoiling in full. But she was able to clear the whole course, and it was great. That was, as annoyed as I was at the promo package, at the Casey references, them pretending that the cut was not a cut, but just a bruise. The fact that she actually got up the spider trap and completed all the obstacles ahead of time that were ahead of it, and cleared the course, was so great to see. I was so happy for Michelle. She deserves that honor and distinction. She did great. It was so great to see, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, the whole women clearing regional finals, when we get to a certain other run in a little bit. And then in more fast forwards, unfortunately, Mike Bernardo went out on the wing nuts. This is the second year in a row where he clears a regional qualifier course and then goes out on the wing nuts in regional finals course. So he is 2 for 2 with wing nuts, and that sucks. Still love you, Mike. And then they showed, Reese Pancratz, who failed the salmon ladder. And then they showed Grant McCartney, and they really wanted to put emphasis on the fact that the past 2 years he was one spot away from moving on to Vegas. In the past, it's top 15, and he took 16th place. And he really wanted to change that. And so when he failed Slam Dunk, I bet you he was very nervous. He was probably very nervous, very on edge about possibly moving on. You saw a little bit in his demeanor later on in the episode that he was kind of just dreading, thinking to himself that he's going to be in 13th place instead of out of the top 12, and he's going to be eliminated again. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, Grant's a good guy. Then they showed Michael Torres mid-run. They mentioned his dog Hershey, which is I guess kind of redundant for me because I follow him and because I know about him from social media between Ethan and all the Chicago ninjas seemingly tweeting about him, the dog. Not tweeting, Instagramming stories or whatever. But hey, not much to say other than that. Michael Torres just looked strong. He was moving fast, and he cleared the course. He will finish with the second fastest time of the night. Look good. I remember the first time I saw Michael Torres compete in the Season 1 National Ninja League World Championships. He made all the way to the final stage, in which only 7 people did. and he looked good back then. I saw big things from him, and he continues to impress and improve. So hopefully he will go far in Vegas. And then, oh yes, I wrote in my notes Casey bullshit that didn't actually happen. So at this point, they did a little recap of Michelle clearing, and they said, and look at this, Casey posted a photo congratulating Michelle at her accomplishment. So I went to all of Casey's social media accounts, her Instagram, her Facebook page, and her Twitter. Guess what? That post didn't happen. In fact, after the episode, that post still didn't happen. She retweeted the stuff of Michelle and Jesse clearing, but she didn't post that photo. She didn't post that stuff. And obviously they had to pre-plan this because this show is pre-recorded and pre-edited, and any sort of notion that this show is live is completely absurd and ludicrous. And it is the one editing thing that I still do not understand about this show, is that why do they pretend that this show happens live when everyone knows it doesn't? A&W Nation acknowledges that it doesn't. They talk about the dates that you could find for taping, who got cold, some initial reports of what the taping was like out without any sort of spoilers. And then they show previews on A&W Nation. And then during the A&W podcast, which is hosted by the A&W editor, Nikki Lee, she acknowledges, that it was taped in the past. Like with the Dave Kavanaugh episode that got posted last week, they're like, we're on set for the Vegas taping. And so when they inevitably pretend that Vegas happens in real time, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It bothers me because it's stupid. And it's blatantly not true. It's okay. We know it's pre-taped. You guys aren't a real sport. So it's fine. Before anyone gets at me for that sports comment, I'm strictly referring to A&W, the TV show, okay? So don't yell at me. Again. In more fast forwards, Dustin Rocco failed the slam dunk, but he is still moving on. Hooray. Barely, though. Oof, that's a close one. And then Chris DeGangi, they showed cleared his first regional finals clear in 7 years. Holy cow. That's amazing. And then they showed Jackson Chwait. He did a profile about the cats and the scooter. Didn't last very long this time. But unfortunately, he slipped up on the spin bridge and he is out. He switched his stance right before he started the obstacle. Basically switched from one foot being the lead and the other, which foot to start on. And he made it to the end, but his feet dipped into the platform, trying to save himself on the landing platform. His feet, I should say, his feet dipped into the water, and that was it. Unfortunately, he's out, and it's kind of annoying that was the only run that they showed, the only full run they showed in that particular segment. It's like you could have fit in another short run. I feel like you could have fit 2 runs in there. Show one of the wingnut fails or something. In more fast forward, Tyler Smith failed the spin bowl wizard. Jamie Ross failed the wingnuts, and David David Wormsdorf failed the slingshot. Then we get to Ethan Swanson, who they show mid-progress. And he ends up clearing with the fastest time, which brings up the question, why did you show him mid-progress? You couldn't fit him? Why? The editing could be a bit better on the show, just saying. But yeah, not much to say other than that he just looked really good. Unfortunately, can't really say too much for really good, really clean runs. Then Jesse Wildman failed what's called slingshot. Jonathan Cooley failed the slingshot, and the significance of this was that they wanted to emphasize Grant on the sideline being all nervous and stuff, and then that's when he found out that he is going to Vegas. He appeared to be super excited at the whole thing. I imagine Grant had a huge weight taken off his back when he found out that he was moving on to Vegas for the first time in 3 years, and I was really happy for him. Grant is a very good guy. Excuse me. Grant's a good guy, and I was happy to see him move on. And then we ended all off with Jesse Labreck, and they mentioned that Jerry DeRulio was on the bubble. I thought it was pretty obvious that Jesse was going to move on, because they already showed Michelle clearing the course. They made it pretty clear that Jesse was going to clear the course, because they already showed Michelle clearing the course, and so it kind of takes away, because like, you know that if Michelle was the only one to clear the course, they would have saved her for last, but they didn't. They saved Jesse for last, which means either they had a lot of balls with the editing, or she's clearing the whole thing, and that is in fact what she did. Jesse Labreck is obviously one of the top female competitors, and she proved it here. It was great to see both. I feel like I forgot. Yeah, I did forget. I forgot to fast forward. I'll get back to that. Great to see both Jesse and Chris clear. They had a great moment together. Super happy for each other. You can tell those two really are in love with just the way that they look at each other and they talk at each other. It's great to see. It's great to see them both clear, and just talking about the whole female clearing a regional finals course thing. I just hope that they can finally cool it with the whole Casey talk, because I've criticized them in the past for just how many times they shoehorn Casey and how many other times they talk about Casey. And it's like, I don't have anything against Casey the person, but like, she had, like I said in the past, she is iconic in American Ninja Warrior, but she's gone. And quite frankly, she had one good year. And even some of the women who haven't cleared regional finals course, I would argue, are better than Casey. Jessie Graff, Alyssa Beer, just to name two off the top of my head, I would say are absolutely better than Casey Catanzaro. And it just feels like a jilted ex-lover at this point, with not even a jilted, a desperate ex-lover who hasn't moved on yet. It's like, you guys could move on, okay? Now that you finally had a woman, and two women, in fact, clear a regional finals course, you can stop talking about Casey. Stop mentioning this Casey stuff so much. She's gone. I'm not saying you have to ignore her all the time, but if you're going to mention her, it's got to be thoughtful, you know? Because she's not there anymore. You got to move on. You know, you can mention her accomplishments at times when appropriate, but just stop with this Casey stuff. For years now, I've been listening to them shoehorn references to Casey in so many places, including places where it seems, quite frankly, not very appropriate for them to do so, but they do it anyway. And at this point, now that Casey's gone, she's retired, she's not coming back, and we finally had two women clear the regional finals course. Let's move on. Please, let's move on. And now, I did accidentally skip two fast forwards. Derek Pavoni, unfortunately, not only did he fail the spin bridge, he did a really nasty scorpion. I hope he's okay. And Dan Polizzi cleared the whole course, which means this is the first time that both members of the Power Tower are going to Vegas, and they both cleared the regional finals course to boot. So, hooray! That was so happy for them. Finally, the prophecy has come true. Both Power Towers are moving on. Wow. No, Towers of Power, not Power Tower. Towers of Power are moving on. Apologies for that, guys. The wordage is messing me up. And then, just to wrap it up, the final Power Tower was Ethan Swanson versus Michael Torres, number 1, number 2, respectively. And this was, by far, of the 6 finals Power Tower, this was the best one to watch. It was the closest one throughout the entire time, and Michael Torres actually had a comeback from behind to win, I believe, the only come from behind victory of the 6. And it basically came down to the dismount. Ethan got a little hung up at the end of the ladder. He was a bit awkward trying to get off, couldn't get the right momentum. Michael was able to come from behind and sort of dismount as he was moving to the obstacle, and he was able to, just barely, but good enough, bridge the gap to the platform, hit the buzzer for first. So Michael Torres is your final safety pass winner. Congratulations to him. We'll have to see if he gets to use it, because if he goes to stage 3 without, failing stage 1 or 2 at all, then he didn't need it. But with that said, let's go through our list of people who are moving on and who's not moving on, and of course all of our stats. So 31 competitors ran the course this time around. We only saw 8 full runs, 2 runs that were started mid-progress, 17 fast forwards, and 4 cut runs. No one failed the shrinking steps, 1 failed the ring swing. We had 3 people fail the spring bridge, 5 failed the wingnuts, 7 failed the slingshot, no one failed the warped wall, 1 failed the salmon ladder, 5 failed the slam dunk, 2 failed the spinball wizard, and no one failed the spider trap, meaning we had 7 completions on the course. High completion rate, especially compared to the last 2 episodes. It was great to see that. People like it when you see clears. People like clears on this course. This was a good number of clears. It was great to see. I'm happy to see it. So here are the ones who sadly did not move on. Failing the ring swing was Amanda Odell. Failing the spinning bridge was Derek Pavoni. Cameron Baumgarter, who was cut. Apparently, the reason he was cut was because he actually cleared the entire course, but when they went back and checked the tape, he got disqualified on the spinning bridge for, I believe, grabbing one of the support ropes for the ball, which is against the rules, and so he was disqualified, which is why his run wasn't shown. And Jackson Twait. Failing the the wing nuts was Eddie Russell, Jamie Ross, Zane Paxky, who was cut, Mike Bernardo, and Cameron Nave. Failing the slingshot was Christopher Gabion, Mike Wright, David Wormsdorf, Jesse Maurer, who was cut, Jesse Wildman, Jonathan Cooley, and Philip Huckey. Failing the salmon ladder was Reese Pankratz, and the only person to fail the slam dunk and not move on was Jerry D'Aurelio. Unfortunately, if we had the old rules, she would be moving on. If she was in a different regional, she might be moving on also, but similar to Sammy Zimmerman, she became a victim of the rules and the people that she was up against. Now here are your 13 people moving on to Vegas, your final 13. So, in first place and with the speed pass was Ethan Swanson. Second place was Michael Torres with the safety pass, followed by Dan Polizzi, Brandon Mears, Chris DeGangi, Jesse Labreck, and Michelle Warnkey. Those were your 7 people who cleared the course. And then we had Tyler Smith and Philip Scott, who both failed the spinball wizard. And finally, we had Trevor West, who was cut, Grant McCartney, Sem Garay, and Dustin Rocco, all failing the slam dunk. And that is your entire recap with my thoughts and feelings of the Cincinnati Regional Finals. And ladies and gentlemen, we are there. We are so close to being there. It is almost time for the Las Vegas National Finals at the grammatically incorrect Mount Midoriyama. Finally, the show that is actually based on the Japanese version. We're up to that part. 12 weeks of lead up to 4 weeks of payoff. That's right, we're getting 4 weeks of episodes this year. I am going to personally take full credit for that with my video that I posted of things that I want changed for American Ninja Warrior. I'm excited to see what happens. In my mind, the Vegas episodes are generally the most enjoyable episode, especially Stage 1. I think Stage 1, the past 2 years, was my favorite episodes to watch. So I'm super happy to see that. And I hope that Stage 2 is improved, but we'll have to wait and see. And who knows? Will there be a winner? Will we get to see more action? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see what happens to the 6 people who had the safety pass. But until next time, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time for Vegas. Goodbye, everyone!